Hello and welcome to my channel. This is BK from CocoZini.com. So today's video is on Sewalong with McCalls7630. When I got this pattern, I fell in love with it because of the different variety of sleeves that it has. But when I started cutting, I all of a sudden changed my mind to make it a dress. Yes, I turned it into a dress. So anyways, the instructions on the pattern were very straightforward. So you could easily put the top together or the dress together. Even if you don't know much about reading instructions and you know a little bit about joining clothes together, this is a very good pattern for you. To get the right measurement for cutting this, you have to use the finished measurement on the back of the pattern. I've cut out the front, the back, the sleeves, and the neck facing from the pattern. Also, I've lined the dress. So the front pattern is asking to cut on fold. So I've already cut it on fold. Another thing that I did is I measured from my shoulder to my hips and my shoulder to my waist. And when I got to the waist, I used the measurement of my waist divided by 4. I added 1 inch seam allowance and 1 inch ease. Then I cut it out. And I also did the same thing to my hips. I measured the measurement of my shoulder to my hips. I added 1 inch seam allowance and 1 inch ease. Then I also measure how long I want the dress to be and cut it out. For the back, I did something a little different. The pattern is asking to cut on fold, but because I want to add zipper to the back, I decided to cut 2 pieces. And also I added 1/2 inch seam allowance for the zipper to be added to the bodice or to the dress. So I'm going to also cut out my hips and my waist like I did the front. So right there, I added 1/2 inch seam allowance. Even though it's asking me to cut it on fold, I am going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance to allow for the zipper. Then I'm going to cut 2 pieces, and also I'm going to carve out the waist and the hips, and also cut it on how long I want the dress to be. Grab the sleeve pattern. So for my sleeves, I want it to be a little bit short. So I use the pattern that they have, and I just measured out how long I want my sleeve to be, right from the measurement of my shoulder to how long I want it to be. And I just measure it out of the pattern that they have, and I cut out the sleeve that I wanted from the pattern. I also added 1/2 inch hem allowance to the length of how long I want the sleeve to be. So I want to add a ruffle to my sleeves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out 2 ruffles for each of the sleeves. For the measurement of the ruffles, I use 5 inches wide, and I'm going to use the measurement of my bicep multiply by 2. So if you want if you want your ruffles to be fuller, you can multiply it by 2.5 or 3. So go ahead and cut 2 of the ruffles. Let's start joining them together. Open up your front bodice, right side facing up, then pick up one of the back bodice. Make sure your right side is facing the right side of the front bodice, and stitch the shoulder. Make sure you align both of the back bodies to the front bodies like I did here. So go ahead and stitch the shoulder and also the side seam of the bodice. I'm done joining the shoulder seam and the side seam together. And here is what it looks like. I also make sure I finish all the edges of the bodice and also the edges of the side. I finish every edges of the fabric actually, because when I was joining the bodies to the lining, I serged them together. So now we're going to measure out how long you want the zipper to be on the back center seam. So when I measured how long I want the zipper to be, I'm going to start from the end of the zipper and I'm going to sew down with 3/4 of an inch seam allowance the back center seam. I've joined the center back seam with 3/4 inches seam allowance, and that is the zipper opening right there, and that is the begin or where I kind of started joining the seam at the end of a zipper. So grab your sleeves. I have gone ahead and I have finished all the edges of the sleeves. So go ahead and join the side seam of the sleeve with 1 inch seam allowance or 3/4 inch seam allowance. Go ahead and join the two sleeves. And here is the sleeves after I sewed the side seam to them. So we're going to attach the sleeve to the bodice. So turn your sleeve right side out and insert it into the armhole of the bodice. And make sure that the bodice has the right side inside and the wrong side outside, so that the right side of the sleeves and the right side of the bodice are going to be facing each other. So grab the side seam and the side seam of the sleeves, match them together and pin it all around. Then when you're done pinning, you take it to the machine and sew it around. Make sure you go ahead and sew the two sleeves to the bodice with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here are the sleeves after I joined them to the bodice, the two sides sleeves. So what we're going to do next is you're going to go ahead and grab the ruffle, and for the ruffle measurement I used my bicep measurement multiplied by 2 with 5 or 5 inches wide. So you're going to go ahead and sew a seam to just join them. So each one of them is for each sleeves. I hope you understand that. So I'm going to join it together. Then I'm going to sew one long basting stitch using the longest stitch on my machine. So that's the basting stitch right there. And I'm going to use this basting stitch to get the gathers for the ruffles. So I'm grabbing the thread of the basting stitch. So I'm going to pull up the top thread. Then I'm going to pull it a little bit. You have to be very careful and gentle when you're pulling so you don't over pull, because when you over pull it, it's going to snap. Then all the gathers is going to you're going to lose all the gathers. So you have to redo the lines again. So I'm pulling and I'm distributing the garters. As I'm pulling, I'm distributing, pulling and distributing until I get the specific amount that is going to be enough to get into, to insert into my sleeves bicep measurement. So I'm done with it right here. So I'm going to put it and attach it to the sleeve. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm making sure that the sleeve is on the wrong, the body's sleeves is on the wrong side. Then the ruffle is going to be turned to the right side, like so. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the side seam of the ruffle to the side seam of the sleeves, like so. Then you go ahead and pin everything together. And also as you're pinning, make sure you have a well-distributed gathers. And sometimes the gathers you may think you have more gathers, then just look for the thread and re-pull it. And if you don't have enough, if the gathers are too tight, you can loosen it up a little bit to fit out the bicep of the sleeves. So pin it all around and take it to the machine to sew it. Sew it on 1/2 inch seam allowance. Go ahead and sew the ruffles to the two sleeves. Here is the ruffles sewn into the sleeves. So I've gone ahead and I've sewed it in, and I've also pressed the seam upward to the seam. So what we're going to do next is that we're just going to finish the hem of the sleeves with 1/2 inch fold, like so. I've finished the edges with the serger, so I'm just folding it with 1/2 inch seam, and I'm going to do it to the both sleeves. So here I am done with the edge or the hem of the sleeves. So now we're going to work on the down part of the dress. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did to the sleeve ruffles, to the dress ruffles. Go ahead and measure how wide the dress it is and multiply by 2. Then you're going to cut it on a 5 inches wide fabric. So you're going to cut 2, one for the front and one for the back. And one thing I forgot to tell you guys earlier was that the end of the dress, I made it a little bit like a pencil. So I took 1 inch seam allowance in from both sides. So go ahead and join the ruffles to each other. So I'm joining the back ruffles to the front ruffles here. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm going to sew one long basting stitch all around the ruffles using the longest stitch on my machine. So I'm done joining the side seam of the ruffles here, and I've also finished the edges with a serger, like so. And I also sew a basting stitch around with the longest stitch on my machine. Then I'm going to start with the garters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing like I did the sleeve ruffles. That I'm going to just pick up a thread, the top thread, then I'm going to start pulling and distributing the garters as I pulled it. You have to be careful when you're pulling so you don't snap the thread, because if you snap it, you'll have to start all over. That is, you have to go ahead and re-add a long basting stitch, then you have to restart the garters. So go ahead and distribute the garters on up until you feel comfortable or it fits the measurement of the dress hem. And what I did here is that when I noticed that it was getting too long, I started again from the other side. So I just did the front part differently and I'm doing the back now. So it's not going to be too long for me. So I'm done doing the adding the garters. Then I'm going to attach it to the dress. I have turned the garters right side out. Then I'm going to join the side seam of the dress to the side seam of the ruffles. Then I'm going to use a pin to hold it in place. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side of the seam. Then I'm going to go ahead and sew it all around with 1/2 inch seam allowance. I am done here sewing it together, and I've also ironed it facing the bodice. So we're going to finish the hem of the ruffle. So we're going to fold it in with 1/2 inch seam. So you can do this all the way around. Let's add the zipper. I'm using a 20 inches long zipper, but all depends on how long you want your zipper to be. But I'm not going to use everything. I think I'll only be using 18 to 17 inches out of this zipper. So I'm making sure that the teeth of the zipper is facing down like so. So I'm going to attach one side of a zipper to one side of the seam, of the back seam. Then the other side of the zipper will be attached to the other side of the back seam. So if you have a zipper foot, go ahead and sew the zipper down on to the dress. I'm done attaching the zipper to the dress, and I'm also making it a little bit open zipper. Now we're going to work on the facing. So go ahead and cut the facing out of the pattern, but you're going to make an adjustment like I did for the dress. So I cut out the back facing and I added 1 inches or 1/2 inch each onto this each side of the back. So I'm going to go ahead and join the back facing to the front facing. So we're going to attach the facing to the neck of the dress. Make sure you have the right side of the dress facing out and also the right side of the facing out. So you're going to, I also went ahead and finished the edges of the facing. So we're going to attach or pin down the facing to the bodice, starting from the shoulder all the way to the other shoulder and all the way to the back. Make sure you sew it on 1/2 inch seam allowance. So to finish the facing to the dress, I just hem it using a needle, like so. So that's the end of the tutorial, or that's the end of the pattern sew along. If you have any question, please let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you are new to my channel, thanks for joining me today. And remember to subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back and checking me out all the time. And if you have anything you want me to sew or make, to make a tutorial on, leave a comment down below and I will respond to your comment. Thank you for coming over today and see you the next time. Bye-bye.